Hello everybody, I'm Brad Silbert. Welcome to the Hamilton County Television Sports Show. This afternoon we have the pleasure of sitting down and chatting with Michael Kelly, the head coach of the Hamilton Southeastern Royals. Coach Kelly, building quite a program here. You've had a lot of success in the last couple of years, but I want to just talk a little bit before we get into this coming season about what goes on in the off season for you guys. I know there's a lot of conditioning and a lot of things that go on to make this season possible.
Well, in the months of December, January, February, and March, we spend a lot of time in the weight room and working on athletic development. We tell our players that's the time we're working on building the beast or building the body, so that they're ready for building their armor, so they're ready for the season, the demands that we place upon them during the season. So a lot of time is spent during that, and I know a lot of coaches that are doing football drills and working football specific stuff. But during that time, we really focus on our body during that time. We do a couple minutes of individual periods at the end of that. You know, about a 10-minute session after our workouts in the middle of the winter, where they're working some quarterback, receiver, DBs, and linebackers and D-line stuff. But for the most part, it's mostly focused on developing their athleticism and strength. And then in the month of April, we start looking at the scheme and teaching our fundamentals and schemes. And then over the summertime, we really work on fundamentals at that point in time. So it's not a whole lot of scheme work. It's a lot of just the installation of our offense, and then working the fundamental techniques that are necessary for them to have success and within the scheme. And then we start the preseason time, where now it's the physicality. Determining who can actually play, who's ready to play on a Friday night, and who's not quite there yet.
Just how important is that conditioning to the overall program?
I think, you look at the state of Indiana and just the time spent and the money spent by athletic departments to make the facilities what they are today. If you're not, you're going to get left behind, and so it's vital to the success. We tell our athletes all the time, a bigger, faster, stronger athlete is a more prepared athlete, and then it helps build their confidence. And at the end of the day, it's about how confident do they feel in going into each and every week and each and every opportunity to fulfill their job, their role, their responsibilities at a high level. And if they're bigger, faster, and stronger, that's going to help them out significantly.
Let's talk a little bit about the team that you have returning this year. You lost a lot of good talent last year to graduation, which of course is something that you as a coach have to learn to deal with through your entire career. But you're also bringing back some great talent. Let's specifically talk about offense first. Chandler Weston, what's he bring to this team?
But, this is the first time we've had a 2-year starter coming back to us. Every year that I've been here thus far, it's been a 1-year guy, and so having someone that's now had his second year underneath his belt, I think that gives him some confidence and some knowledge about what it is we're expecting from him, what we're looking for, and it also gives that confidence with the receiving core as well. And so that's a huge help. He's a very dynamic athlete. He's dangerous with his feet. He's dangerous with his arm. And so he presents a challenge for most defenses to prepare for him because of what he can do offensively for us with his feet and his arm.
Let's talk a little bit about the backfield. What have we got in the backfield this year?
Ezra Wallace is coming back. He's been a kind of a 3-year guy now. He had his sophomore year got minimal reps and limited reps. And then his junior year really got a significant more reps, and now this year being as kind of the starter of the backfield. He's a big physical back, but he's also worked on his vision and his speed and his quickness this year. So he looks different this year from what he's looked in the past, in just in terms of his vision and being able to explode through things. And so he's been a nice surprise this summer. And then we got Brendan Baker, who's coming back after ACL injuries. He's had 2 of them now. But he's just you look at the guys that just have that grinding mentality. We call him alpha sometimes, where he just gets after it in the weight room. He gets after it on the practice field. Everything he does is at 100%. And so he's going to be a nice to have back again this year. And then we also have Vaughn Johnson, who is coming back to HSC this year. He's been a great player for us in the summertime, and excited to see what he does. And then we have a sophomore in Carter Reed, who kind of has that every down back ability, where he's quick, he's fast, he's strong, he's explosive. And so we got 4 really, really good running backs, I think, in our backfield that can really help carry the load.
Well, one of the things I was looking at when I was looking over last season was the fact that Chandler Weston threw for 1,400 plus yards, 18 touchdowns, and that's a credit to him. But he also had some good receivers out there. He lost a couple receivers, but you got a couple of good receivers coming back too.
Yeah, we got Dylan James was one of those guys that's a returning player for us from last year's team. And then you also have Liam Boyd, who's another returner that's coming back this year. Liam is dynamic with what he can do with the football. He's steady Eddie, so to speak. What you're going to get from him. He works extremely hard. Dylan's got that big play potential every play. Long strider, big long guy, big tall guy. We got another guy named Kendrick Pennybaker, sophomore, junior coming in this year, who is another guy who's got height and he's got speed. He can stretch the field vertically for us. And then a new kid is Zachariah Wallace, AZ's little brother, who's not so little. He's a big, strong, physical specimen. He looks different when he walks on the football field. So he's just got a tremendous amount of athleticism. And then also Graham Toner's another guy who's going to get some quality reps this year as well at the receiver position, as well as Tyler Folan, a guy who waited his turn as a senior, is just dependable. He knows where to be at, when he's supposed to be at, and so those guys are going to be fighting for some reps this year.
The offensive line, so many times in football, they, to me, seem to be almost the unsung heroes, because they're the guys that open up the holes for the running backs, they're the guys that protect the quarterback in the passing situation. Let's talk a little bit about what we have in the offensive line this year.
Well, we got 4 new starters coming in this year, so it's kind of interesting to see where you are. You got Cameron Gordon, who's a returning starter. He's been a 2-year starter, or a rotator. Was a starter last year as a junior. Big kid, 6'5", 270 pounds now. He's a load, and he creates some advantages for us offensively. Another guy that had some time last year, was in a rotation, so to speak, was Corbin Mullis. He's a physical kid. He's that guy that's looking for contact. There's sometimes with football players, you have guys that will go to contact or will be in contact, but he's looking for contact, and so he's a very, very physical player. And then Isaac Williams, starting as a senior for his first year, he plays their center. He's a big kid, strong kid. It's nice to see a kid who started out football, was not even a starter as a freshman, and then he's moved himself in position over the course of the last 3 years to be a starter for the varsity team, which is awesome. And it speaks to his work ethic and just his commitment to doing the little things over the course of the year. Then we have Colt McCabe. We call him Goldie. If you ever go to our games, you'll know why. You see his Goldie locks out of his helmet. But just a great kid who has great feet, moves well. And then Quinn Albertson is a new kid who's going to be starting this year as well. Just started football as a sophomore. So it's been nice to see the growth and the progression for those guys. But we tell our guys all the time that your program, our success will go as our offensive line goes. So a lot of times, the team will take on the identity of what your offensive line is. If they're physical and tough kids, then your team oftentimes will mirror that. If they're lackadaisical and kind of softer, your team will take on that identity. And so we challenge our kids every year. Hey, it starts with you. Our offensive line coach, we have a new offensive line coach, Coach Olicki, who came from the college game. He's been a great addition, but he tells us, put it on the line. And he said, that's not just put the game on the line, but also put it on the offensive line. Hey, we're going to be the standard bearers for our team, and making sure that we do what we need to do to take care of business up front.
Well, it looks like we've got a team here coming back this year, Coach, that's going to be able to put some points on the board. Let's switch sides of the ball now. Let's talk a little bit about defense, because I grew up in Chicago in the days of George Halas. And if anybody put defensive teams on a football field, it was George Hallis, of course, and Mike Ditka. And they always stressed how important that defense was. It looks like you got some pretty decent players coming back and some new additions on the defensive side.
No question. I forgot one kid, and that's our tight end, Calvin Okerson, on the offensive side of the ball. He's going to have to be a playmaker for us this year as well. He's versatile. We moved him from receiver last year to tight end. Now he's playing the tight end position, or on the ball tight end, if you will. So he's going to have a great year for us, as well as Charles Dabbers and Colin Walls, a new kid that's coming into us as well. So looking for some big things from them. But defensively, I think as a team, I want to have a great defense. I think if you present a challenge for the offense, and it's going to be, they're going to have to slug it out in order to score. That's what we want from our defense. And so, we graduated 9 guys on defense from last year's team. I think that's kind of the last couple of years, it's been a cycle where you're just continually rolling over senior guys. And so you're trying to develop that depth of your team. And it's hard when you have seniors being your predominant starters, and that's, again, where it's going to be this year. We got some young guys that are going to step up for us. We got some older guys that have been there. Michael Hope's a 2-year starter now at the outside linebacker position. Then we have Mason Alexander, who's a 3-year starter at the corner position, moving from safety to corner this year. He's a dynamic player, and just how fast he is. He wants contact, which is usually hard to find from DBs. Another kid who's had a lot of varsity playing time in other sports, baseball and basketball, is Kyan Kelly. He's going to play corner for us this year. He's a dude. He's a kid who, I'm excited to see what he does over the course of the year. And we have at the safety position Henry Wands, who has been a varsity starter in lacrosse and has a state championship in lacrosse under his belt, but he's a physical specimen. Big physical kid who will come down and hit you, and that's what we want. We want to, I challenged our defense this last week. Be that defense that is. I'm going to knock you. I'm going to knock you back. It's Georgia. I'm not a huge Georgia guy, but Kirby Smart talks about knockback tackles, where when you tackle someone, it's going through them, not going to contact, but going through contact, so that extra yard is eliminated because your feet are running through the tackle, and that's what we want from our guys. And so excited to see what that defense is able to do this year. I think it's going to be a growing time for us this year in terms of as they come along and develop over the course of the year. Our best football is probably not going to be the game one, and if it is, then we're in trouble anyhow. So I'm excited to see what that does, though. But we have we're fast. That's one thing that I will say that's different from this year. We've had size in the past, and now we have speed. We have a lot of speed that will be on the defensive side of the ball. I was talking to someone today. I don't know that we have a guy that's playing on the defensive side of football that doesn't run a sub 540. Which includes our defensive line. We got a defensive lineman who runs a 4.540. He is explosive and fast, and you'll see him on the field. He's going to be everywhere. He's a menace to block, and so just creating some advantages for us and using our speed to our ability, to our strength, and playing to our strengths is going to be critical.
Let's talk a little bit about special teams. Not only the kicking team, but receiving team too.
Yeah. Again, Mason Alexander's returning from last year at the kick returning position, that middle return guy. And then we also have Keegan Thomas Fisher, who will be returning. You don't often see a defensive lineman go back and return kicks. He's the guy I was talking about that will be returning kicks for us and playing D-line. And then we have on the other side Adam Carter, who's a sophomore, but he is extremely fast and physical, and he's an aggressive runner. I'm excited to see what happens. It can be explosive. Then in the punt return game, you have Kyan Kelly, who's steady Eddie in terms of plays baseball. He's a great receiver, and he's been in those tense positions, and so we're excited about him. And then Liam Boyd will also be helping out in the punt return game as well.
Let's just talk specifically about the kicking game. Starting with the snappers, and then the punters and kickoff?
We have two. We have well, Jackson Toll is going to be our long snapper and short snapper. Jackson's, I think he's like a 4-star, 5-star rated snapper. So it's nice to have a sure-handed guy that's snapping the football for you. He's going to be a junior this year, so he did for us as a sophomore. He's going to do it again as a junior. But it's nice to have the op time. We talk a lot about with our kicking game, the operation time. How fast can we get the from snap to kick in the punt game and then the kick game? 1.4 seconds. We're trying to get a kickoff in the PAT and point after attempt stuff. And then in our punt game, trying to get that ball off as quick as possible from snap to kick. But Braden Totten's returning again as our punter. We have another junior who Alex Jenkins, who can boot the crap out of the ball. He's got a great leg. So we got two guys that can really do a great job for that. And then our kicking game, we have two. Trent Smith, who's a junior this year, kicked a little bit for us last year on our kickoff game. And then we returned Hugo Balamonte, who was our kickoff guy and our PAT guy, and is point after attempt guy. He's steady Eddie as well, where he does a great job of just doing his job. He seems. Usually I talk to our kickers and I give them great kicking advice. Kick the ball through the freaking uprights is what they get from me all the time. I'm like, how hard is it? But I blow them a bunch of smoke during practice, trying to make it hectic for them so that they're experiencing some stressful times. Because I think we want to create that stress during practice so they don't feel it during games. But I'm excited for those guys as well because they're. Again, some guys that have had varsity experience under their belt, and they're good.
Well, I think one of the things that happens with the special teams coach, and from my observer standpoint, is that there's such a critical part of the game, but they don't spend a lot of time on the field, and therefore they don't get as much recognition at times as I think they should get.
Well, we spend a lot of time in practice on special teams. It's a third of the game, and that special three, you got to win 2 out of the 3. Either offensive special teams, defense special teams, something in order to have success. And so we spend a lot of time in practice working just the fundamentals of the kicking game because in tight games in the years past, that's been either the thing that's won you the game or cost you the game. And so, I look back to 2 years ago when we played Carroll, we had a punt blocked. They got the ball on like the 4-yard line, and it created a scoring opportunity for those guys. And you take that away from that game, it could have been a different ball game. Last year we blocked a punt at Westfield and kind of changed the momentum of the regional game. And so just spending time working the fundamentals of those specialties, we take a lot of pride. And we tell our guys, if you're on our special teams unit, you're a dude. We're not just putting slappies on our special teams game. We think it's important that we have guys that can go out there and accomplish the task in order for us to have success.
As a coach, what you've seen so far of the team this year, up through and including the scrimmage last weekend, give me your most positive feeling and your most concerned feeling for this team.
Well, I think the positive is we guys they're not afraid of contact, and they're going to go to contact. We'll play fast and we'll play physical. The concern piece for me is the inexperience. How are you going to respond in the middle of the game? I think we have a lot of guys that are that have had experience, and we have several that have never had the experience of a Friday night game. So their first time stepping on a Friday night, feeling the environment of a huge crowd, which I know Carroll's going to have a big crowd up there for us. The game one, experiencing that environment, and then how do you perform under pressure? The unknown is sometimes more elusive than the known. And so, for me, I want to see how those guys handle that pressure and how they challenge themselves to. We see it all the time. Do your job, do your dang job, every play, 100%, full speed, and great things happen. So I want to see guys that love each other, buying into that, and playing for one another, and doing their job every play. And if they do that, we're going to be a hard team to beat. So that's our goal this year, to play fast, play physical, and play discipline. And I want to see if that's what we'll do. over the summertime, we had a lot of opportunities to play different people. We scrimmaged against Columbus North, we scrimmaged Lawrence North, we scrimmaged against Lawrence Central, and so then we scrimmaged against Chittard. And so in all those experiences, we're playing multiple guys, and you have different rotations going in. We have 130 kids right now on our varsity team roster, and so with 130 guys, you're trying to get 130 guys into a scrimmage environment. It's hard to really know what we really have, because these guys are getting 2 or 3 plays. What are you going to do in 8-play series, in 10-play series, 12-play series drive? Getting that consistency, I'm excited to see what that looks like for us this year.
One last question. Let's just talk briefly about the HCC this year. How do you rate the conference this year?
I mean, from top to bottom, there's not a week. It's like the same every year. There's not a team that you think, man, that's going to be an easy game for you. You think the talent that's in the HCC is tremendous. I think Avon's got 2 Division I defensive linemen. Noblesville's got 2 Division I guys, 3 Division I guys. Fisher's got a couple Division I guys. Everyone's got talent, and so I think there was once a time when the HCC was limited in terms of the talent that was in the HCC, but that's not the case any longer. We got a tremendous amount of talent. In each and every week, you're going to have to bring your A game, or else you can very easily find yourself with regret because you didn't bring your best game into that game. And so, I think this year Westfield obviously has a load of talent. They really returned almost their entire team from last year, aside from the quarterback and running back. And a couple other defensive linemen. But other than that, they returned a significant amount of talent back to that team. And so, Brownsburg always has talent and is well coached, and that's what you get from our conference. There's not a team that you're going to say, well, we can out-scheme these suckers or we can out-coach these guys. We got to outplay, we got to out-prepare in terms of getting our guys ready to do their job with full confidence so they can go out and play loose and play fast. And so that's one of the things I enjoy about our conference. And this other thing I don't enjoy about our conference is you don't have a game where you say, man, that's an easy one. We just don't have that on our schedule any longer. And so, that gets you prepared for the playoffs.
Coach Michael Kelly, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck this season. I'm Brad Silver. You've been watching the Hamilton County Television Sports Show, brought to you by Logan Street Signs and Banners in Noblesville.
Go Royals.
Good day. Good day.